Welcome back, Music Maniacs, to another episode of Gibbs Drops the Needle, your one-stop spot for all things music. Lately, we've been talking a lot about AI and its impact on music, and a lot of times this is in a negative light. There are some circumstances where I have said that I had thought AI could be beneficial, but for the most part, it's been about AI being used to copy people's voices and create music, and we've had music platforms starting to label AI generated music and not pay them the royalties that maybe they would pay an actual artist. So there was another story that came out recently which kind of sparked the idea for this video. As Spotify, I guess, I don't know if they followed through or if it's in a beta stage or if it's just being talked about being done. Spotify is coming out with a new feature that basically does a song by song description and gives you a summary of what the song is about and tries to create what the artist was probably thinking when they wrote the song. And I know there's been many artists that have come out and spoke against this. The biggest one that I saw was Lorde had came out and spoke against this feature, and it really is something that I don't see the value in it very much, because obviously a lot of music is subjective about how it makes you feel and how you interpret a song when you listen to it, but ultimately it comes down to how the artist was feeling when they created this song. Now, I know some songs are written by not artists and they're just written by a group of people because they think that it sounds good and you have a team of writers sitting down and doing the writing, but a lot of music is written by the artist and they have certain feelings that they wanted to convey. They had a message that they wanted to convey, so they wrote that song. And to have something else coming in and telling you what the song is about, I just don't see the value in that, and I would see where artists would be upset about that because it could be completely wrong. I know a lot of times songs get misinterpreted by the listeners. An example of this that I personally know about is the song I Hate Everything About You by 3 Days Grace. This is a song that, if you listen to it on the surface, is interpreted as being something about an ex-girlfriend or something, saying, I hate everything about you. When in actuality, the song was written due to drug addiction and him hating everything about the drug addiction. So if you take it from that aspect, it gives the song a completely different meaning. Obviously, as the listener, people over the years have thought about ex-girlfriends and stuff for that, but it's not the original intention of why the artist created the song. Now, if that song makes you feel like you can apply it to an ex-girlfriend, then I think that that's just your interpretation and you're allowed to do that. But if AI was to come up with a summary of the song that they're putting out to people, and the AI's interpretation is that the song is about an ex-girlfriend and not drug addiction, then that's kind of spreading misinformation out there. So it's a very fine line, but I can definitely see why artists are getting upset over the fact that AI is trying to tell people what their songs are about. So that led me to thinking, because that's another negative mark against AI. It seems like that's a very big thing that artists and music labels and music platforms are trying to fight against and find the ways that AI can work in the music industry without stepping on any toes of the actual people creating content or songs. So it led me down this path of what all is AI used for in the music industry, which is what I want to get into in this episode. Ironically enough, I used ChatGPT to kind of do the research about all the aspects of music that AI is used in. So I kind of want to go through this list. It's a pretty lengthy list. I was actually surprised with how many parts of the music industry AI is used in. So I want to go through this list and kind of give my thoughts about whether I think that it's a good use of AI or whether I think the AI is kind of overstepping. So let's get started in this. The first category of AI being used in the music industry is songwriting and composition. So it says AI can help music before a note is even recorded, idea generation, it can give lyric suggestions, which that is another fine line for me. If it's something that you're trying to convey a message and put something out there and you're having a hard way of wording it, maybe I can see AI being beneficial in that respect. But if you're using AI to create a whole verse or anything like that for you, then I don't really like that as much. Rhyming assistance is another thing that AI helps with in the songwriting and composition. This is something that I've actually used as a songwriter if I'm trying to make my verses or choruses rhyme and I'm having a hard time finding a good word to go along with the previous line. Sometimes I will look up words that rhyme with a certain word, and that sparks the idea of what I want the next line to be. Or in some cases, I feel like a word may rhyme, so I'm just checking to see if they also list a word as rhyming. So I see merit in using that only because I've personally used rhyming tools. Chorus and hook ideas is the next thing listed, and this is maybe an overstepping. I don't see creating a whole chorus or creating the whole hook of a song. It's called a hook because it's what draws the listener into the song. And if the whole idea that you're using to draw people in is AI generated, then I feel like that's taking away from the creative process of the artist and making things, dare I say, a little easier when it comes to creating something that you feel like people are going to like. So I don't really like that use. Song titles is another thing on this list. I don't see the problem in that. Are song titles really that important? I mean, I've seen artists that just use random numbers and letters for their song titles, and yes, that probably makes it a nightmare on a radio DJ to try to say what song is playing next, but in the same respect, it's a song title. I get that maybe sometimes a title of a song can help draw in a listener, but I just don't think that that's that big of a deal to really be disgruntled about AI over. There's worse things on this list that AI shouldn't be involved in. Theme development. That again is going to the writing of the song and the basic idea of the song. There's aspects of it that I think maybe could be used in AI. Say you do have a certain theme that you are trying to write about and you're hitting that kind of writer's block area, maybe you do type in to AI about what other things in this can relate to this theme that I'm trying to put out there. So another fine line. A lot of these are probably going to be fine line situations where some uses of it are probably okay, but then other uses of it is maybe overstepping. Mood generation, again, this kind of wraps into the theme development for me when it comes to mood. if you're trying to express a certain mood and you're hitting that writer's block area, maybe you can look for some help in generating how to fully express that mood. But again, if it gets into fully writing a verse or a chorus for you, then that's AI overstepping once again. And the last three really on this section have been all kind of relatable, with the next one being storytelling structure. Maybe if you're using it as kind of a storyboard thing, that hey, I want to start at this point and then I want to end at this point, maybe that's okay to kind of lay it out there and maybe not have it fill in the story for you, but just kind of lay out, like I said, start, middle, end, and kind of keep you on track in that respect. But again, if you're using it to write a whole verse or chorus or song, it's overstepping. The next category is composition, and this starts with melody creation. I feel like this goes right in with the chorus and hook ideas. The melody is the main part of a song. So if you're using AI to come up with your melody and you're just filling in the blanks, then I don't really like that. I guess some people would argue that these artists that use a team of writers, essentially that's their AI, but I feel like that's still human creation. Someone had to sit down and have that idea and pass it along, rather than a computer compiling a database of what they feel like listeners want to listen to and coming up with something along those lines to purposely grab people in. So as long as the human factor is in there for me, I don't mind designated songwriters and people like that, that maybe the artists themselves aren't coming up with everything, but there's still a human factor in coming up with these melodies and choruses and hooks. So with that being the main part of the song and a human still being involved, I feel like that makes it okay. If you're using AI to purposely try to get something popular to guide people in, then that's where I find the problem. Chord progression generation. This one is kind of an interesting one, as there are plenty of books out there that give you good chord progressions to go through. So if you're using that as a starting point, then maybe AI could be helpful in that aspect of it as just a starting point. It's just chord progression. It's not really telling you what rhythm to play, what time signature, what kind of melody you're laying over it. I mean, it's just the core root of the song with the chord progression. So, like I said, there's plenty of books out there. I own some books that tell you chord progressions and different ways to play chords to make them more interesting. So, I don't see the issue in chord progression generation as much because, as I stated, that's the basic part of a song. So as long as you're not using it to come up with your melody and your rhythms and stuff, then that's probably okay. The next few are kind of interesting in my opinion, because I am someone that when I write and record a song, I play all the parts, I write all the parts, sing all the parts. So some of these I can kind of see a positive use in, but at the same time, again, saying it toes that line of, is it coming up with the main part of the song that are going to draw people in, or is it just helping you fill in the blanks here? So baseline writing is the next thing on this list, and I guess if rhythmically you don't have an interesting bass part, I guess it's easy to just do the root note of the chord and do quarter note, eighth note kind of things. So maybe if you're looking for a more interesting bass line, this is helpful. But at the same time, that kind of runs into the creative thing. If your creative process is all you can come up with is quarter note and eighth note, then that's kind of boring. And maybe you shouldn't benefit from AI writing a killer bass part. But again, is the bass part something that is what you want to stand out in the song and the rest of the song is kind of bland? Or is the bass part just something that you need a bass part in your song, so you're trying to get help figuring that out? So there are certain cases that would probably be okay. Going into the next one with drum pattern creation, some people, and this ties in with the bass thing too, some people just aren't rhythmically talented in that respect, and it's not a knock on anybody. Some people just can't sit down at a drum set and play a beat, which is odd because sometimes they can play an instrument really well. They can be a really good guitar player or a really good singer, so they obviously have some kind of rhythm, because with all those things you have to know how to kind of keep time and know when to come in and count. So you would think, but a lot of times, especially with drums, I think it's more of a motor skill thing. It's getting one limb to do something opposite as maybe the other limbs. There's sometimes you got both arms and both legs going at it on the drum set, so a lot of people can't focus on those things and get it nailed down. So drum pattern creation, again, kind of like the bass creation, is it going to be the main draw of the song, or are you just looking for something simple in the background to keep a beat while you play? And this is something that honestly I feel like AI has been involved with for a while, because you've had maybe not computers that you could just go in and type what kind of rhythm or it would automatically read your song, but you've had drum machines in the past. So there has been somewhat computers involved with the creation of drum tracks for certain bands. I know that I believe 6am was a band that I don't know about now, but they didn't have a designated drummer, at least on the first album. And I think that they did a lot of their recordings with drum machines. So that's basically just putting in a beat to their song. So maybe partially AI generated there, I don't know. Again, I can see cases where it would be beneficial, but also cases where it oversteps. Piano arrangements, orchestra scoring, this all kind of goes into the same thing as bass line and drum patterns. If it's just you need a piano or strings holding out a chord or something while the melody is going on, then that's fine. If it's just a little accent thing, maybe that's fine. But is it the melody? Is it coming up with that melody? So again, I find myself repeating this a lot, but fine line there. Some cases fine, other not fine. Counter melodies. This kind of goes in with melodies for me. If you're using counter melodies as well, maybe you should come up with that stuff on your own. Again, a team of writers can come up with that, or you can be creative and try to come up with counter melodies. Basically, what I'm getting at is anything where the main hook of the song is being generated by AI, maybe not okay to use. Harmony generation. I find this one interesting because I went over the pedals that I was using in a few episodes ago. I think I was going over the impact of reverb, and then I, in that process, showed off some pedals that I had that did harmonies. And this, I think, is a very good tool for performing artists that are just solo artists. As I said, it's added so much to my show that I find it very beneficial because I can have those layers vocally while I'm performing. The next category is genre emulation. AI can write in the styles inspired by pop, country, hip hop, rock, jazz, classical, EDM, metal, folk, and R&B. This I don't like. Again, it goes too much into the songwriting process and is taking away from the artist and the songwriters. If you want to have a country song, write the music for a country song. If you want to have a pop song, then come up with a beat, or hip hop, come up with something. This one influences the music too much, in my opinion, so I don't like that as much. Music production. AI is becoming a virtual producer. Recording, automatic pitch correction. So auto-tune, a lot of artists use auto-tune and have been using auto-tune for a while. This isn't something new by any means. And it's something I may have brought it up before when I think I gave my opinion on some Drake songs. And I don't like the overuse of auto-tune. It's okay in some instances, but in other instances, it's just too much, and when it's becoming the whole song and taking away from the artist's ability to show their artisticness, then I don't like it, because it pretty much makes it to where anyone can get behind a microphone and they can make it sound decent. So I don't really like that. Never have been a huge fan of auto-tune. Like I said, I get that in some pop aspects it gives the song a little bit of a different feel and maybe a more electronic or whatever they're going for in that moment feel. So a little hint of it I don't mind, but when an artist is strictly relying on it all the time, then I don't really care for that as much. Vocal comping, timing correction, noise removal, breath reduction, room echo removal. This is all stuff that I see as beneficial because in a lot of this going through this music production, being a solo artist myself, as I've mentioned throughout this video, I record all the parts myself. I'm not a trained music producer. I have been able to come up with the parts, I write the parts, I sing the parts, but when it comes to the music producing and the mixing, I am not properly trained on that. I know very basic things. Even when it comes to this, I use automatic EQ on a Focusrite Vocaster 2 to get through this, and it has a certain enhancing button on it that I can click and say whether I want to go for more of a radio voice or a roomy voice or whatever, and that's AI. That's me using AI in the production of this show. And even if you're watching the video, the backdrop behind me, that's AI generated. I asked ChatGPT, I said, hey, I'm starting a podcast called Gibbs Drops the Needle. Can you create a background? It spit one out. I didn't like certain aspects of it. I said, hey, can you remove this? Maybe add this, use these colors, and boom, it spit it out. That's what you see behind me now. So there are places where AI is very beneficial to people that just don't have the knowledge to do the producing and stuff like that. They're maybe good creators. And I don't see a problem in this because a lot of times if you're in a recording studio as a professional artist, they even send it out to a mixer. They don't have a mixer in studio a lot of times. Now they do have a producer that may give more of a creative take on things, so I'm not trying to take away from any music producers out there because they have a more prominent role in making an album than what this is. I'm basically self-producing my own album because I'm coming up with the parts. It's just me creating. I don't have an outside voice there. But a lot of the time with these music producers, they will have the knowledge to say, hey, why don't you try it this way? Or here's a line that might work a little bit better. Or we can try this recording method. So I'm not taking anything away from physical music producers here. I'm just saying that as far as AI is concerned, for an at home recording artist as myself, I do see the benefits in that, and I do see the benefits in mixing as well, because that is something that is very time consuming and something that I, again, wasn't properly trained in. So I know the basics, I know what I'm going for. So if there are tools out there to make it easier on myself to where I can really dial things into the way I want them to work, then that's a great tool to have. Another recording thing that you can use AI for is instrument separation, and you see a lot of that today with there are certain apps that are just devoted to being able to solo out different sections of the song or remove sections of the song. And I do find that cool. You can kind of create a karaoke version of a song that you like. You can isolate the vocals and take them out, or you can isolate the vocals or guitar part. If you're trying to learn a certain part, you can block out all the other noise and you can just isolate that part, and it really helps you be able to learn the part. So I definitely see the benefits in instrumentation separation. As far as the mixing goes, I've already kind of talked a little bit about the mixing with the auto EQ. That's something a lot of times that I'll use because I'm guilty of maybe speaking at different volumes a lot of the time. So if you can have something that automatically dials back the gain when maybe I start getting a little too loud, then that's always great, because it again saves me from having to re-record something or turn something down to the point that you can barely hear it because I'm trying to get all of the fuzz or pop out of it. Intelligent compression, stereo widening, volume bouncing, reverb suggestions. That's all, again, going into your sound. The reverb suggestions are nice because, as I did a whole episode on, I didn't see the value in reverb. So if it has a way of adding it in there and making it sound better, then that's great. Delay suggestions, that's kind of cool as well, because it again adds that little flair to a song that maybe you don't think about adding when you're initially recording. So that's no different than having an actual sound person behind the board experimenting and playing with different things that maybe you didn't initially think of. Frequency masking detection, vocal enhancement. I'd already talked about vocal enhancement. I just use on this little interface that I have running through my microphone now. And even the microphone itself, it's a Shure SM7DB. It has its own vocal enhancements in it that you can make certain frequencies come through better, or you can make them dial back a little bit so that you don't have too much of something. So a lot of the mixing aspects, I actually agree with the usage of AI. Mastering, you have AI mastering, which again, a lot of times as an artist you send that out to have it mastered. You pay to have your album mastered. So if you have a cheaper tool that you can use at home to save you some money and do that, then I find that good. A lot of these AI things I find very beneficial to at-home artists, not necessarily your big-time recording artist, because The record labels and the artists and all these people usually have the money to actually be able to afford a producer and someone to mix the album and someone to master the album. But for someone at home that just likes to create on their own, a lot of these tools are very beneficial. You have AI mastering, loudness optimization, which I'd already talked about, streaming normalization, format specific mastering, and dynamic range optimization. So, lots of good, helpful tools when it comes to being able to finish a song or album. You also have AI being used for audio restoration, useful for archives and podcasts. You can remove the hiss, you can remove clicks, remove hum, remove distortion, restore old recordings, repair clipped audio, upscale low quality recordings. So, this is all great for times that the recording methods weren't as advanced as now. Obviously, if you listen to old blues recordings or any kind of big band recording or something, the mixing back in the 20s, 30s, it obviously wasn't as good. And you get up to the 50s and 60s, even, you have a lot of recordings that were done in mono, which means that you're getting the same sounds and everything coming through your right as you are your left. So it makes it beneficial that you can remaster these things, put them in a program and give it that stereo sound to where maybe you're getting little bits in this ear, little bits in that ear, and it makes it sound better. You'll see a lot of times that these older albums are getting remastered. You can see the original recording is mono, and then you have remastered. It usually has the year that it was remastered in, and it's the same song. It's just mixed differently and improved upon because of the improvements in technology. So I definitely love that, because you can bring new life to older songs that, as I said, the mics weren't as high quality back then. The recording process wasn't as advanced as it is now. Now, there are definitely things that when they recorded back in the 70s and stuff, I liked the methods that they had to use back then, because you definitely had to work to get a certain sound. And it's a little more easy today, but that's just personal preference there. I definitely see the benefits, because I'm someone who benefits from removing the hum, because a lot of times you might not be able to hear it, but I have a fan going on in here because it's hot. So a lot of times I have a fan, you can't hear that, it removes that, removes the hiss. I'm bad with my S's sometimes. You can really hear them pierce through, and I like that you can dial that back a little bit, especially on songs and stuff when I'm singing. And you have the pop filters that take the plosives out of everything, so that's really nice. Again, really beneficial uses for AI. Another category is singing and voice technology. AI can now generate and modify vocals. You can use vocal creation with synthetic singers, custom voice models, voice cloning, harmony generation, and choir generation. Synthetic singers is on the line. Is it a strictly AI generated song and the only singer in this song is a AI generated voice? I don't like that. Are you using harmony generation? I've already talked about that. I like that. Choir generation. Again, these pedals have built in doubler effects that also give you a choir feel. And choir generation is also something that works in the MIDI realm. So I see the benefits there. Again, you don't always have access to a full on choir. So it's good to be able to use that tool. Vocal editing. You can change pitch, change gender, change age, accent modification, pronunciation correction, language translation while preserving the singer's voice. All things that can be very beneficial, all things that are pretty much in any kind of vocal pedal that comes out now that you can use in live applications. You can change the pitch of your voice. A lot of times you can change the gender. You get that alien effect. You can make that happen. Change the age, accents. I will say with the language translation while preserving the singer's voice, that takes away from the artist that can speak multiple languages. I know you have someone like a Shakira, and there's a lot of Spanish speaking artists that also can sing in English or any other languages. So it kind of takes away from the talent of them. They took the time, they learned how to sing in not only their language but in other people's languages, which is just so talented to be able to do that. And a lot of times they'll switch back and forth in a song. They'll do part of it in their language and a part of it in English. So yes, that's a cool application if you have maybe someone who is really popular that doesn't know how to speak other languages and you want to try to make them more of a global artist, then yeah, that can be pretty beneficial. But I do feel like it takes away from the artists that have taken the time to really perfect singing in multiple languages. The next category is instrument performance. AI musicians can perform instruments. You have piano performance, guitar solos, drum programming, bass performance, string sections, brass arrangements, virtual orchestras. A lot of these we'd already talked about. When it comes to the drum programming and bass performance, I believe we touched on orchestra arrangements. Guitar solos is something that I don't really like. Any kind of solo that is being AI generated, that's going to be something that possibly stands out in a song. Think of all the songs from 70s, 80s, 90s that had these great guitar solos. I mean, Rolling Stone puts out a list of greatest guitar solos of all time. There's many radio stations I know that do a greatest guitar solos of all time. So I do think having AI come up with a solo, again, that's too big of a part for the song to be out of the artist or songwriter's control. So I don't like that as much. Sound designs, it says it's perfect for producers. You can create synthesizer presets, generate textures, ambient pads, sound effects, drum samples, Foley, and cinematic sounds. This is something I believe has been wide used for a while. You have a lot of ambient sounds. Sound effects is something that are constantly used. Radio stations, podcast, everything uses sound effects sometimes. You get your cinematic sounds for movie soundtracks. So I definitely see the benefits in AI in a lot of those things. I know when it comes to the ambient pads and things like that, I had mentioned in the reverb episode that I have an effect called ambi reverb, and this basically adds that little orchestral or just ambience behind the reverb. So that's something that I personally use. I don't see any problem with it. Again, it's not a main part of the song. The next one is sampling. You can do stem extraction, vocal isolation, instrument isolation, loop creation, tempo matching, key detection, sample cleanup. This is all things that I think AI is good for. I use a looper pedal. I think that that's great that it can keep a chord progression going while I solo. We've already talked about the benefits of vocal isolation and instrument isolation. Tempo matching is a good one if you are someone that uses a looper pedal, or if you're someone who records multiple parts in your arrangements for a song. I think tempo matching is a very helpful tool. Key detection is something that I also like, because when I am putting in these harmonies into my pedal, I can tell it what key a song is in. So that's always beneficial, to be able to tell it what key it's in. So if it can detect what key, that's great. A lot of these pedals, I used to have one that did an auto detection. That was always nice. It kind of picked up on what I was playing through my guitar, and then it would shape the harmonies based off of that. So that's a great AI tool that I use in a live application. The next one is remixing. AI can automatically create remixes, generate dance versions, acoustic versions, instrumentals, karaoke tracks, radio edits, extended mixes. A lot of this on here I don't really care for. Creating a remix, there's a lot of DJs out there that are very creative, and they come up with their own remixes, and they work both decks, sometimes up to 4 decks, and they create these great remixes. And to have something come by and take away something from that, I don't really care for. Now, an application I do use this for is for the wedding DJ. I use DJ Pro, and it does have an autoplay feature that if I'm doing a couple songs that are running over, maybe it's boring at the end, the ending just repeats, I can click to go to the next song, and it'll automatically phase out of that song and into another song. Sometimes it'll try to use the tempo matching and slow the song down as it goes into the next song, or maybe it speeds it up as it goes into the next song, depending on what the tempo is doing there. So I do see, for basic DJing like I do, I'm not someone who does remixes and everything like that, but for basic DJing, that's a cool tool that I like to use. But as for coming up with full remixes and stuff, I don't want to take away from anyone who has the talent to do that. That kind of goes into the generating dance versions. Acoustic versions, I don't really like that. That's again something that, from an artistic view, someone sits down with unplugged instruments and creates an acoustic version. You don't just ask AI to take a Metallica song and turn it into an acoustic song. They sit down and they worked with a full-on orchestra, and they put out versions that way. Or you have the old MTV Unplugs that were always great. You had Nirvana as a legendary one. My favorite's Alice in Chains, and they literally made unplugged versions of their songs and did these versions. And to think that AI could just automatically do that, I don't really care for that as much. Instrumentals is something else that I don't really care for, just because there are so many artists out there that are known for instrumentals. You have two cellos, you have the piano guys, David Garrett, I believe, and there's countless others, Apocalyptica. They're all known for their instrumentals. So they get the rights to these songs, and they come up with their own instrumental arrangements, and I really like those. So again, to think that AI could just come up with that on the fly, I don't really care for. Karaoke tracks, we talked a little bit about. I don't see anything wrong with that. A karaoke track, we've talked about being able to isolate the vocals and possibly remove them and create a karaoke track. So I don't think that there's anything wrong with that. Extended mixes, I am guessing that that means adding on to the song, which I don't really like. If it's the artist's intention to end a song, then it should end. Now, they do sometimes come out with extended versions of their songs, but that's something that they wrote and arranged themselves, so that's up to them if they want to do that. But as for AI just going in and adding on to a song, I don't really like that. I would think that that would be somewhat of a copyright issue. The next one speaking of arrangements, is the arrangements. AI can help structure songs, intro suggestion, verse ordering, chorus placement, bridge creation, build ups, breakdowns, outros, dynamic changes. Most of that I don't like. Again, that goes back to the artist and songwriter creating the song. You shouldn't be using AI to come up with your song for you. Now, the dynamic changes, I do think that maybe that falls into a production or mixing category, so I don't see anything wrong with that if it's just suggesting, like, hey, go from soft to loud in this spot, or bring it down from loud to soft in this spot. I don't see anything wrong with that, but anything that actually involves writing the song, I don't care for it. You can use AI in music education. You can personalize lessons, ear training, chord recognition, scale practice, feedback on performances, and improvisation coaching. Those are all helpful tools. Again, as someone who tries to teach themselves and maybe didn't have money for lessons, anything that I can get that helps me out and teaches me something, I love. And if you can use AI to sit down and help you work at your own pace and learn something, that is great. I love ear training. I love the chord recognition and scale practice, personalized lessons. How many people out there offer online lessons now? And maybe those are expensive bundles. I know a lot of times those bundles are over $100. They can get into the thousands of dollars depending on who you're wanting to teach you and how many lessons you're getting. So if you can use AI to kind of help generate lessons for you, help you work at your own pace, make the lessons to fit where you're at and your level, then I think that that's great. That's a great use. Any kind of music education, I feel like, is a great power. As education in general, everyone has a different way of learning. Some people need to have that person sitting across from them physically showing them where to put their hands or what to do. So that's great for them, but other people can learn in different ways. So any way for music education to be out there is great. You can use AI to artist brand. AI assists beyond the music with artist names, album titles, EP titles, logo creation, cover art, merchandise ideas, press releases, biography writing, electronic press kits. All beneficial things, I think. Artist name, I don't really care if you came up with that through AI. I know back in before AI, they used to have, when I was in high school, they had a band name generator website, and you could type in a couple words that maybe you wanted to be involved, and it would spit out some names for you. So something that I think has been used for a while. People come up with their artist names or band names in many different ways, so I don't really care about that. Album titles kind of works into the song title. I get that sometimes it's what draws people in, but a lot of times album title doesn't really matter as much. Logo creation, I've already spoke on the fact that I've used it for logo creation. Cover art, I've used AI to help me with that because I'm not an artist in that respect that can draw or anything, so nice to have that. A lot of the artist branding things, I don't care if you use AI or not. Marketing, one of AI's fastest growing areas. You have content creation with social media captions, video scripts, short form content, email newsletters, and blog posts. I think that that's just better if people do that. I think it's much more beneficial and much more meaningful if I myself reach out to you or comment on something or put out an email or blog post. Now, I know some of the bigger podcasts or artists probably have a whole team that takes care of all their media things for them, but I think, at least on my terms, I like it being more personal, that I'm involved in all communication with you guys. And use it for audio growth. It'll tell you the best posting times, hashtag generation, fan segmentation, trend prediction, ad copy, and campaign planning. So those are all beneficial things, I think, because as someone who does this, I would love to grow my audience more. Any tool that I could possibly use to get my platform out to as many people as possible, I feel like that's very beneficial. I use when I put up a short video on TikTok or something, or Instagram, I try to hashtag as many things as possible that I'm talking about in that video, just so hopefully it reaches a wider audience. I mean, you can hashtag something on TikTok and it'll tell you, if you click on that hashtag, that there's 17 million posts about this hashtag, or 1,000 posts, and you're part of that now. So if someone's searching for that, they might find you. And I think that that's a great tool. Any kind of discovery on that front I find very beneficial. The next category is video production. AI can make music videos, lyric videos, visualizers, animated videos, performance backgrounds, TikTok clips, YouTube shorts, Instagram reels. So we've already touched on some of these things with the performance background, as I've mentioned the one behind me multiple times. Music videos, I don't know about that. That's again another one of these fine line kind of things, because that's again up to the artist and how they want to portray their song. If you're using AI to come up with your music video, maybe it loses the message that you were trying to get out there. Lyric videos, I don't see much wrong with that, as long as the AI is getting your lyrics correct. If it's reading through and messing up your lyrics, then obviously not beneficial then. But if it's just creating a lyric video and getting everything right for you, then that's probably a useful tool. TikTok clips, YouTube shorts, Instagram reels, I don't really like that it would just automatically create that. I don't mind using AI, obviously, with my backdrop and stuff for those things, but to kind of make the clip or short or reel for you is kind of cheating, and it's just kind of reaching out and finding what people are deeming popular right now and probably trying to exploit that. So that's something, again, me personally, I would rather just do all that on my own. Use AI as little tools for the backgrounds and things like that, but not rely on it to make the video or short for me. The next one is streaming and music discovery. Listeners interact with AI every day. Recommendations. They can make personalized playlists, daily mixes, discovery playlists, mood playlist, workout mixes, sleep playlist, driving playlist. I love all those. I love that AI can put together a playlist for me. I know Apple Music has recently put out an update where I can make a playlist based on what I want it to be. I can say pool party, and it'll make a list of what it thinks pool party music is. And then I can go in, and if I don't like the song, I can take it off. Likewise, I can add more songs to that playlist if I want to, but it gives me a good basis for the kind of music that I'm looking for based on the vibe that I'm in at the time. So any kind of discovery playlist I really like. If it is a, hey, you like this band, so listen to this band. I do love music discovery. All the time I'm looking to find new artists and new music that I haven't heard before. Mood playlist is something else beneficial. Sometimes, you just want to listen to some happy music. Sometimes you're feeling like you want to relax. So a lot of these platforms now have moods that you can put into it, and it automatically gives you those playlists. Workout mixes, you're obviously going to want some upbeat stuff while you're working out. It's great to be able to have a playlist for that. sleep playlist. You're going to want more relaxing music, maybe some ambience noise. Has that. So all the playlist recommendations I love. You can use it to search, hum to search, mood search, activity search, similar artist recommendations, voice assistants. The hum to search is something that I've used for a long time, or not even the hum to search, just the song recognition. I used SoundHound before, and you could hear a song on the radio, maybe you didn't know the name of it, maybe you just wanted to make sure you remembered it for later so that you could look it up and add it to your playlist. You could hit on this button, it would listen to the song, it would spit out the name of the song. Likewise, as the thing says, you could hum to search. You could, if you knew the melody, you could just hum along with the melody, and a lot of times it would spit that out. Now I use Shazam because I switched over to Apple and it's just automatically on there, so I use that to find songs now. If I'm out, a lot of times I'll be in a car or something, if I'm at work, and maybe a song comes on the radio that I really like, so I'll just hit that recognize real quick, and that way I know at the end of the day I can go back through my history when I got time and I can add those songs to my playlist. So I do love AI in those respects, and we already talked about the artist recommendation and the activity searching, like I said, being able to post up pool party, or I did one for July 4th party and it put music on there, so that's great. Playlist curation. AI builds playlists based on listening habits, mood, weather, time of day, heart rate, location, activity, and season. We have basically all been going through that already. It is nice to be able to have a Halloween playlist or a Christmas playlist or anything like that. I would love to see more heart rate playlists that integrate with if you're on a run, and it could keep the tempo of the song with the pace that you're running at. I think that there is stuff out there that does it, but I just don't pay for it. But I would like to see that become more of a thing because I've been trying to run, and it would be just nice if the music tempo matched my running pace. As far as the listening habits, this one is kind of a double-edged sword for me because I used to have Spotify, and they have a feature on it called DJX, and I loved it. It was a virtual DJ. So it basically turned your music library or the music on Spotify into a little radio show. It would play music that you liked. It would sprinkle in some new stuff. The DJX would come on and say, hey, you listened to this many hours of music last month, or this was your top listened to song of last week. Here's a blast from the past from songs that you liked 2 years ago. It would have all these things, and I thought that was really cool, but at the same time, it would get stuck into, I feel like, playing the same songs over and over again, because I would search a song or tell it to play a song, then it would play that song the majority of the time. So then it would tell me, you listened to this song 6 times last week, and I'm thinking, well, yeah, you made me listen to this song 6 times last week. It's not necessarily something I was seeking out at the time. So that's where I see it as a double-edged sword. I don't like the algorithm and stuff as much when it's forcing you to listen to the same things over and over again. I'm someone who has thousands and thousands of songs in their library, so I want a good rotation of those songs. So sometimes the listening habits thing gets a little too overpowered, and it really forces you to only listen to some certain songs based off of what it thinks that you liked. AI can be used in music analytics. Labels and artists use AI to understand music performance, streaming analysis, skip rate prediction, completion rate analysis, playlist likelihood, viral prediction, fan demographics, tour planning, and market analysis. This is something that everybody uses. I use it. Podbean has a screen that keeps track of all my plays and downloads. who's listening, how long they're listening for. YouTube does it with what people searched to that led them to my video, how many subscribers you're getting, how long they're listening for, are they new listeners or people that are coming back. AI is everywhere in this respect, and it's great because you get more information as someone who's putting out content. You get that information. I'm able to go through and look at what gets the most views slash plays, so I know that you guys like this certain content more than maybe other content, and it's just real beneficial as a creator to be able to rely on AI and understand how people are viewing and taking in your content. The next use for AI is artist and repertoire. Record labels increasingly use AI to discover new artists, predict commercial success, analyze songwriting, identify trends, compare artists, and forecast streaming growth. I like that they use it to discover new artists. Anytime that you are discovering new artists and giving them the recognition they deserve, that's great. I necessarily don't like that they just lean into what's popular at the time. I mean, it's a record company, so I'm sure that that's all they focus on because they want to sell as many units or get as many streams or whatever as possible. But at the same time, then they're exploiting what people are finding popular at the time, and I don't really care for that. I think it takes away from the creativity of some artists because they're pushed to do certain things or go in a certain direction just because that's what people like at the time. The next one is distribution. AI can optimize releases. They do this by metadata generation, genre classification, mood tagging, release scheduling, copyright checks, duplicate detection, and quality control. These are mostly all good tools. I like that it can maybe listen to your song and, hey, we're going to put you on this playlist because we think that this song is that. So that's a great use. Release scheduling, it'll let you know what days may be a good day to release an album. Copyright checks, that's something that I go through all the time, whether I'm posting a video on YouTube or even posting a short video on TikTok, my podcast. Everything's got to go through a copyright check to make sure that I'm not infringing on anyone's copyrights. So that's a great tool because if I am doing something that I shouldn't be doing, then I would like AI to give me that heads up before it becomes a legal issue, because I don't have money to fight a legal case against a record company. So wouldn't want that. If AI can tell me, hey, we flagged this for this reason, great, because you're saving me a lot of headache, and I would just like to remove that from my episode or whatever to prevent creating a bigger issue. So a great use in that respect. Quality control is another thing that, as a artist that puts out music, sometimes I like it if I'm uploading the wrong file type. It will tell me, hey, you're trying to upload an MP3. This may not have as good a quality as this that we want. Try reconverting it to this so that we have a better time of redistributing it. So great tools there too. The next one, which we've already kind of talked about, was copyright protection. It does audio fingerprinting, plagiarism detection, sample detection, copyright matching, unauthorized upload detection, royalty tracking. So again, great. If my episode or song or whatever is creating a problem, go ahead and deal with that problem. If it's a royalty issue, if I'm covering a song, I have had that before. I posted up some videos of me covering songs from years ago. I ended up deleting them just because the quality of them I wasn't really thrilled with, and I have better gear now, so I would like to go through and re-record things. But the royalty tracking was something that always popped up when I would send something to YouTube, and then it would post my video, and then Warner Brothers or Disney or whoever owned the rights to that song would flag the song and, hey, you're not going to get royalties from this, which is fine. It's not my song. If you want the royalties for it, go ahead and take the royalties. I'm not going to fight you on it. Which again leads us to the next category of royalty administration. AI helps manage mechanical royalties, performance royalties, split calculations, publishing administration, licensing opportunities. So that's all great. Split calculations is something that I don't personally use, but I have noticed in music distribution that it will say, have you collaborated with someone else on this? And it automatically takes care of all that royalty split for you. So a great tool to have there. AI live performance. AI is entering concerts with intelligent lighting, visual synchronization, set list optimization, crowd monitoring, real-time sound adjustments, virtual band members, AI visuals. The intelligent lighting is something that I use to a certain extent. I've mentioned I DJ, and a lot of times rather than sit down and create light shows, it's easier to just let the AI deal with it. Sometimes rather than sitting down and coming up with a light show for everything, it's just more beneficial to me on the fly to be able to have AI do the light show. I set up the lights, and then I use Sound Switch. I go in there and I select what channel these lights are on. They're on DMX channels, so you pick how many things you want this light to do and say this light's going to be channels 1 through 10, the next light's 11 through whatever, and you go through all these lights and you do that. And I do sit down and I create these scenes. Basically the scene is what the light is going to look like at that time. So I set the colors. Some of my lights make shapes. I have a laser that makes shapes. I set all these things, Haze Machine, to do certain things in different scenes. And then I create these bunch of scenes, and then Sound Switch takes it in and rotates through the scenes and gets them going to the beat of the song, and automatically takes care of that stuff for me. So that's something that I really like. I get if you were a bigger artist touring and now you're taking out someone's job because their job is to control the lighting for the venue that you're in and do your light show. So I'm not trying to take anyone out of a job. It's just that's a good tool for me to use as a DJ to just have one less thing that I gotta keep track of because it's taking care of itself. Setlist optimization, I don't know. I don't really like that. I like when bands sit down and hash out what they're going to play that night and put together their own set list because it's kind of your story that you're telling through your concert. Now, a lot of times, if you're just starting out, maybe you have an album, so you're just playing your album, and that's the story. But other times, for these bigger artists that have multiple albums out, they're telling their story through their set list, or maybe they're playing at a heavy rock festival, so they want just their heavy songs, or maybe they're playing at a pop festival, they just want their poppy songs. So there's ways to use that, I guess, if you were using like genre-based set list, but at the same time, I like the artist having more of an input in the say of the set list. Real-time sound adjustments, I think, again, that's something that might possibly take away a job for someone who works in the venue or someone who follows the band and just does their sound. So I wouldn't like that. As a solo artist that just performs at bars and stuff, I would like to have that. If I'm way too loud or my vocals or guitar is coming through distorted and I don't want that, it would be a good tool to have for like an auto gain or something as such to make sure that the sound going out to the audience is the best quality it can be. Virtual band members, I do not like that. So I know Kiss have, I don't know if they are actually doing it or not, but they had kind of dabbled in the creating a Kiss on tour that was virtual bandmates, basically. It was all going to be holograms on stage, basically, of them playing. And I'm just thinking, who is going to pay to go watch a hologram perform? And you know that that's going to be an already pre-programmed thing, so it's not like when you go to a concert now and you're like, oh man, this special moment could happen at my concert, because you're there seeing the artist and maybe they react to a certain way or maybe they sing in a different way. It's probably going to be the same show every night from these hologram things, and I just don't really care for it, especially if, and knowing Kiss, they will, if they're still wanting to charge $75 for a ticket to go in and watch a hologram. I just don't see it. And maybe I'm the outlier here, and maybe Kiss fans would be excited to go to a Kiss show and see a hologram of Kiss, but I just don't see it. I know that they've talked about holograms in the past before, maybe doing Tupac or some of these other artists that had passed away too soon, and getting them back up on stage and having people pay for holograms. I personally don't want to go deal with a big crowd and spend a lot of money to watch a hologram. AI is involved in touring, route optimization, demand forecasting, ticket pricing, venue selection, staffing predictions, and equipment logistics. A lot of this is good. I mean, you wouldn't want route optimization. You don't want to fly to one side of the country, drive to the other side of the country, and then back up on the other side of the country. So route optimization, I totally get that. You always want the quickest route to everywhere. Demand forecasting is great. You don't want to perform a show at a place that doesn't like you. So that's probably good to be able to see your popularity in different places. Ticket pricing, I wish tickets were just the same price across the board. I don't understand why it's got to change depending on the venue. I know, for example, last year I could have went and watched AC/DC, and I didn't. I kick myself in the butt all the time for not doing that. I could have went up to the Cleveland Browns Stadium and watched AC/DC, and I think it was $45-50 for nosebleed seats, which AC/DC legendary, I would have gladly paid it. I should have. And then this year they came down to the Columbus Shoe, where the Buckeyes play, and the cheapest ticket was like $125, $140. And I just didn't understand. Ticket prices about doubled during that time. So I wish that ticket prices were just the same for everyone along the tour, and that it wasn't something that fluctuates. And again, a lot of that has to do with secondhand sellers and people like that that I despise, because they're just trying to take advantage of people. But maybe that's a discussion for a separate video. Venue selection, obviously that goes into the demand forecasting. You don't want to play at a venue where you're not going to be able to fill it. If you're playing a big arena, you want to be able to pack that arena with, say, 15,000 people. But if you're an artist that only draws in maybe 5,000 people or so, maybe you want to switch to a small theater instead. And then all the staffing predictions, equipment logistics. It's probably good to know your bottom line and everything before you go out on tour. Do you have enough money to sustain the tour? And so being able to pre-plan all that stuff out is really beneficial. Fan engagement, and we've talked about this a little bit. AI has chatbots, personalized fan experiences, VIP interactions, personalized merchandise, fan recommendations, community moderation. Again, and I'm a small guy when it comes to the platform I'm on, but I would just rather do all that stuff personally. I don't want an AI chatbot having a conversation with my fans. I want to have that conversation with my fans. VIP interaction. It's not very VIP if you're talking to AI and not the artist. I just don't understand why, as an artist, you wouldn't want to just do that stuff on your own. Licensing. AI helps to match songs with movies, TV, video games, advertisements, podcasts, YouTube creators, and corporate videos. That all kind of ties in with the copyright claims and stuff as well. AI in radio does music scheduling, listener predictions, automated DJs, voice tracking, commercial placement. The commercial placement's probably alright. I don't see where that would matter. A lot of people in radio, I believe, probably change the station if it's on commercial anyway, so you're not really caring about something like that. Music scheduling is something that's used a lot, and it's kind of unfortunate because you almost get on a time schedule based on what song is playing. It seems like sometimes their scheduling is not very diverse, so you're getting a lot of, if it's a new popular song, you're hearing it about once an hour. And then even some of the stations I like that play older songs, it seems like you get the same songs every day. So music scheduling is here and there. I like being able to text into a DJ or something and, hey, can you play this song? And they play the song. I think that's cool. Automated DJs, I talked a little bit about the Spotify DJ that's out and gave my thought on that. I think when it comes to actually turning on the radio, I would rather hear someone that's actually in studio, especially if they're from your area. You syndicate shows. There's big shows out there that are based in a certain state and then played in other states, but that's alright, I guess. But I'd rather have someone kind of local because they relate to more of what you're relating to. AI assist in podcast by editing, noise removal, show notes, transcriptions, highlight clips, chapter creation, episode titles. Again, all good tools to have. Editing would be nice. I haven't really figured out how to do that with AI yet. I usually go through and edit through all my own mistakes, so a lot of time gets spent editing these episodes. Noise removal, I talked earlier about it being a great thing because I live in a house with children, so a lot of times there's a background noise or two and it might get through, you might hear it sometimes, but I try to get as much of that stuff out as possible. Chapter creation's always good. If you're, I know on YouTube they can go through and kind of pick certain things you're talking about, like when I do different stories on different news stories and bring up different people, you can basically find a chapter and pick up on a story if you don't want to listen to the other stories. So very good tools when it comes to podcasting, music journalism, album summaries, review assistance, trend reports, concert recaps, interview transcriptions. We talked at the beginning of this episode about Lorde being upset about the song summaries that AI was coming out with. I would imagine she's also upset over the album summaries. You don't know. A computer can't tell you what a artist was feeling, and it can't tell you what a listener is feeling when they hear it. So we already went into that. I won't get into all that again, but I definitely don't like that aspect of AI. I know that one thing I like about Apple Music is that usually when a new album occurs, they have done an interview with the artist. So there's a lot of times that you can go in while you're listening to the album and click on the description, and they'll have the artist themselves giving a song by song breakdown, which is great. I love reading that. But if it was AI generated and it's just a computer telling me what they think the song is about, then I don't like that. I can sit down and tell you what I think the song is about. The next thing is music research. Researchers use AI for genre evolution. hit prediction, music recommendation models, listener behavior, cultural analysis. It's great to always stay up on what people are liking, but again, as I have said earlier, sometimes this gets overused to where you're only wanting to generate a certain type of thing because that's what's popular right now. So I do think sometimes it stifles the artist, but I do see the benefits in it as well. AI accessibility makes music more accessible, automatic lyrics, live captions, audio descriptions, translations, language dubbing. This is all great. Anytime you can get your music out to more people, it's always a good thing. Again, I don't know if translating the English, if that's not the original artist doing so, I don't know if I really agree with that, but we already discussed that. The live captions, throwing lyrics up or throwing the words out to my episode, if AI does that and makes it more accessible to people, then that's great. Business operations with AI. Behind the scenes, AI helps with accounting, customer service, contract review, inventory management, financial forecasting, CRM systems, and scheduling. That's all just business nowadays. Anytime they're going to make something more efficient by using AI to do so, they're going to do that. So, no problems in any of that. There are some emerging and experimental uses for AI, and some of the newest applications include interactive songs that change based on the listener, adaptive video game soundtracks, personalized mixes for each fan, AI collaborators credited alongside human artists, AI-powered virtual performers, mixed reality concerts, generative ambient music that never repeats, brain-computer interfaces for music creation, AI agents that can coordinate marketing, distribution, and fan engagement with minimal human intervention. So once again, anything that is exposing more music to people is great. I like, personally, as someone who plays video game, I like an adaptive video game soundtrack because you fall into a lot of times that a video game soundtrack might have 5 or 10 songs, and after playing that game for hours and hours, you're pretty sick of those songs. So anytime that they can use an adaptive soundtrack for a video game, I'm all for that. I don't really understand the personalized mixes for each fan, if that has to do with the AI automatically being able to do something like a bass boost or a treble boost, or sometimes you get different audio presets based on what genre of music it is, or if you want the vocals more at the front of it. So maybe that's what it's talking about there. I don't like that AI collaborators are being credited alongside human artists. Just give the human artist the credit and stop using AI to write your songs. Mixed reality concerts. I actually did experience a little something of this. I have the MetaQuest 3, and when I first got it, I remember going into one of the worlds and you could watch a Sabrina Carpenter performance, and I thought that was pretty cool. As someone who doesn't like to go and really be in a crowd with thousands of people, I think it's cool that you can still get that concert experience, but be at home. And just the virtual reality part of it made you feel like you were actually there. I know they do that with a lot of sports things now too, where you're basically sitting courtside on an NBA game, and it's really cool. And as long as the prices stay down and it doesn't cost you the same price to watch the concert on your virtual reality set as it would to just go buy a ticket, then that's probably fine. The brain computer interfaces for music creation, that sounds like something I'm not going to like. It's an early research phase, but anything that involves AI being fully involved with the music creation, I don't like that. And again, the fan engagement with minimal human intervention, I just don't like that. If you're the artist and you have time, just interact with your fans. If you don't have the time, don't interact with your fans. But to put something out there to interact for the fans for you is just lazy, and I don't like that. So that goes over all the uses of AI in the music industry. I know this was very lengthy, but AI is something we had been talking about for a few episodes now, and I just really wanted to dive in deep with what all AI actually does in the music industry. There was a lot of things on here that I didn't know were grouped as AI, that were tools that I use that you don't think about it being AI, but it is. And again, I close this out with saying if AI is being used as a tool to help, that is okay. If it's being used to be the creator, then I don't like that. So, always for the artist and the artist getting their due, because that's where the creativity comes from. It shouldn't come from a computer. It should come from here. It should come from here. And that's how songs and albums should be created. So that's all I got for you this time. I really appreciate you tuning in. Please like, subscribe, do all the good things to help me out. Until next time, I'm Gibbs. This is Gibbs Drops the Needle. Stay safe and be kind.